started. So first of all, after last game, everybody leveled up. So I just want to talk through what's different on your character sheet. So we'll start with Claire. So first of all, everybody's hit points went up, which means that they're more durable. They can take more damage before falling unconscious. Other new things for Claire is she got Channel Divinity, which is if you're facing undead creatures like skeletons and zombies and ghosts, you can try to use your divine power to make them run away from you. And then she also got another Channel Divinity Preserve Life that allows her to heal more hit points to people within 30 feet of her.
Okay. Got it.
And then in terms of magic, you got another spell slot, so you can cast 3 spells a day instead of just 2. So I think those are all the updates for Claire. For Jane, again, hit points went up. You learned 2 new spells. Yep. I gave you Charm Person and Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Awesome.
Charm Person turns someone into a friend.
Okay.
Tasha's Hideous Laughter immobilizes someone. They just bend over laughing the whole time. Your spell slots also went up from 2 to 3.
Okay, and it looks like I can maybe have 4 spells prepared.
And you can have 4 spells prepared, that's right.
Okay.
Yes.
And as in terms of the class, I glanced over the options you sent me, but none of them seemed like I.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're like specific.
Yeah, but I think you had
I
think you had a suggestion.
My suggestion was divination, just because that's like knowing stuff, and that seems to be what Jane's bent is.
Okay.
But if you want it to be something else, that would work too.
Yeah, like I said, I glanced through them, but yeah, let me look specifically at divination and make sure that sounds good.
It's what Adine was in the first.
Sure.
Okay, actually, you can prepare 5 spells. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, divination sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other spell do you want to prepare?
What options do I have?
For today, you guys are coming back to town. You really don't know what's going on in town.
Okay, so I can just, you said I can prepare another spell, right? Okay.
Right.
Let me look at them.
Okay.
So yeah, we're just going back to town. No big deal. How about Charm Person?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That'll be good for getting information.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so as a diviner, you get Portent, which is you get 2 rolls at the beginning of the day, and you can replace any roll you or somebody else makes with one of those rolls.
Okay.
So why don't you roll those for today?
Okay. So sorry, say that again.
So roll a d20.
Yeah, 19.
Okay, 19, and roll again.
12.
Okay. So you got 19 and 12. So that means if you or anybody else rolls a poor number, you can say, nope, they got this number instead.
They got a 19 or a 12?
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, that'll come in handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite handy. Okay, Jean-Luc, your hit points went up. You add Divine Smite now to your abilities, which is basically you can use some of your magical energy to add more damage when you hit a creature.
Divine Smite to, and you sent new ones, right? We just never have.
I couldn't print it.
We never have the opportunity to print things out because we're.
So yeah.
Sorry.
So if you spend a spell slot, you add 2 8-sided dice, 2d8 to a damage, and then you get spells now. You get spells, yeah. So I created a spell list for you, and I chose the spells that I thought were reasonable to have prepared. So I'll just talk about the ones that you have prepared, and if you have questions about the others, we can talk about them. So Compelled Duel basically forces an opponent to only fight you.
Oh.
Heroism gives you a bonus against magic that causes fear and that kind of thing. Purify food and drink, it's pretty much what it says on the label. And Shield of Faith creates a shield that makes it harder for someone to hit. You can use that on yourself or on somebody else.
Okay, perfect.
and you have 2 spell slots, which means you can cast 2 spells a day.
And all these spells are just what's under, yeah, okay. Compelled Duel, Heroism, Purity, Food and Drink, and Shield of Faith. And all those ones that aren't marked are just spells that are in the universe, but I don't specifically have.
They are available to you, and if you want to prepare them, you certainly can. If you know that you're going to be going into doing something, like if you know that you're going to be going into battle, you might take the Thunderous Smite or the Wrathful Smite or one of those that do some damage type stuff. So it'll just depend. I figured those 4 were pretty general use spells for you.
Alrighty.
And then Lorelei, not a lot changes for you. Hit points went up. And then you got this cunning action, which is you can, during combat, you can move faster, you can break out of combat, or you can hide.
Okay.
So it just makes her a little more mobile, agile to get in and out of trouble. Okay. Any questions on any of the leveling up stuff?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. Who would like to recap the last game?
Oh my gosh.
I'll catch just a little more.
Okay.
I mean, I just sort of assumed that was Susan's job now because she
I
did it
did
last
too.
time.
She was demonstrating for. I wanted to give people the option if any of you wanted to take over that or do that this time. I thought I would give you that choice, but if you want to give it to Susan, then
Just make Susan do it. No, that's I've been making Susan
That's fine
do
with
it
me.
for years.
make Susan do it. Great.
Okay, so we went into the Deepening Wood to find the Witch of the Woods to see if she could help us with the poison we found that killed Charlie in the first game. We came upon a creature called Gata that had deliberately, it turns out, put himself into a trap in order to join the One Ear tribe, but we helped him free his leg. And then while we were doing that, a bunch of goblin type things kind of set upon us, and we fought them off. First kill went to Lorelei in the game. So we managed to fight them off without too much trouble, and the Godok at that point just kind of seemed to express that he was. So then we kept going on our way. We ran into a couple of drunken dwarf type creatures named T and Yuk. It turned out they were moonshiners and basically were just, you know, rowdy Brits wandering along after a football game, more or less. So their deal is that all you have to do really is pretend that you're talking to them in their same drunken gibberish, and they'll share their moonshine with you if you go along with them. But we didn't do that. We basically just made it clear that we weren't going to hurt them, and they kind of got distracted and wandered off. So as we got closer to the Witch of the Deepening Woods, we found a squirrel attached to the tree with an arrow. We freed it and it ran off, and it turns out it belonged to the Witch of the Woods, whose name was Sarah Lindra. She's not actually a Witch of the Woods. She's more like a wise woman who just kind of keeps to herself and does her thing. She was able to identify the poison that we brought with us as monk's bane and said that it's actually made by the One Ear tribe, which is the one that Godok had been trying to join, and told us we could find them at the foothills of the Gray Peaks. So the next day we set off over there, and then we met with the chieftain Glet and the shaman Glethi of the, I don't think it was just the One Ear tribe, but because those are the people who've like kind of done their right to adulthood, but like that group. They said that they had sold monk's bane to a human about a fortnight ago. Humans all look alike to them, so the best that they could give us was that there were rough scars on his hands and had a stooped back. I think they were able to at least say that that the human was male. He asked about the green gems that are found in the peaks, and my recollection is that the goblin type things were just sort of like, I don't know, there are green gems in the Gray Peaks. What, you know, sometimes we find them. They were also able to tell us that they traded Monksbane for a fishing net. So after that, we headed back to Sarah Lindra's and decided that the best course of action was to go back to Hommlet and see what we could find out now that we've got this new information.
Nice, thanks. Anybody have anything to add or anything different?
Remind me we're back in Hommlet to do what now?
I think mostly just see if we can identify anyone who seems to fit the description of who the goblin sold the Monksbane to.
The description being a human male.
Right. Scars.
Human male with rough scars on his hands and a stooped back. So we've got a little bit of information.
Okay.
And then we also did have the information from the first game that Charlie used to go into the woods, both with his son and then with someone else who brought him in with him. So I guess that's another thing that we could follow up on from the first game if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, you guys head back to Hommlet. Because you had to hit the One Ear tribe at the base of the Gray Peaks, you're going to get back to town fairly late, maybe like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But you make it back to the Daisy Chain where you've been staying. Lexi Ross is there, just kind of sitting by the fire, having a little bit of a read. She greets you, kind of notes your appearance. You guys have been, on the road in the forest for a couple of days, so you're a little bit, the worse for wear. She hops up and gets you some warm tea. And she says, "Oh, and I forgot that I have a note here to give you." So she goes into the back and comes out with a note that she hands to Lorelei. And I'm going to upload it to the chat. You can open it and have a look at it. Everybody can go ahead and look at it because I presume you'll share it amongst each other.
Nice handwriting. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Okay. So Lexi gets you your tea, draws a bath for anybody who wants one, and lets you get settled in for the evening. Is anyone going to do anything before you hit the hay?
Well, let's do it.
No, I shared the note with everybody, right?
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Lorelei passes around the note.
Let's go.
Let's go to what? To sleep?
No, to the quarry.
Oh, is it this evening? Is that what they
Well,
said?
it's already pretty late. She just says at your earliest convenience, so maybe we should go first thing in the morning.
I think we should go to bed.
That sounds nice. We wouldn't want to disturb her dinner or evening before she's about to retire.
Yeah, she may be retiring already because it's pretty late. All right, folks, that's what I think. I think we should retire and then go first thing in the morning. We'll go see her.
I think that Jane goes to bed pretty quickly after dinner or whatever we're doing, and just sits in bed with her tea, thinking about everything that she knows about what we're doing here. She's very excited. She knows it's important to get a proper night's sleep, but she's very excited.
Brain's going.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jane does recall something that you did not include in your recap, which is that Glenn mentioned that the green gemstones tend to show up. That's and then right. People like you show up.
I remembered that, but I didn't have it written down.
Oh, okay.
So You're right. I didn't put that in the recap.
Yep.
Yes.
But as Jane's drifting off, she remembers that detail.
Yes. But we also know it's correlation and not causation.
Exactly.
So the green gemstone, like they find the green gemstones at about when strangers like us show up.
All right, you all head to sleep, get a very nice, refreshing rest after all of that walking and going through the forest and all of your travails there. And in the morning, Lexi puts out some toast, pours a quadruple bowl of coffee for Lorelai, gives the rest of you tea or coffee at a normal dose. Sets out some sauteed mushrooms as well, and in the middle of your breakfast, the door opens and in walks Sheriff Jenkins, who you all remember as the kind of sour fellow who doesn't think much of you all being in charge of this investigation. He kind of strolls in, nods at Lexi, and doesn't even sit down. He just kind of looks at the four of you and says, well, folks, you better come along with me. I hate to disturb your breakfast, but Albin's body was discovered this morning.
Oh.
Wait, which one's he?
Here, hang on.
Lorelai said, which one was that? Oh.
Who was
guarding
guarding
the door.
the house
A bit of a
where-
simple.
Oh.
Yeah, bit of a simpleton.
Little bit simple.
Uh-oh.
I guess Victoria Hall will have to wait.
Mm.
Well, yeah, I guess because we have to go with the sheriff, but we do want to see her because she must have some information for us.
Do we recognize the name Victoria Hall?
Yeah, you guys visited her. She's the wife of Charlie who got
wife.
killed. Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, they'd been estranged for a long time.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't remember that was his wife. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We can split up.
You could split up.
You never split the party.
Oh, fine.
I'll send you a song. I mean, we can do whatever we want, but generally the party is built for maximum success when we work together.
Didn't we split up on the first game?
I think we did, but that was just information.
But
gathering.
we weren't okay.
So
we weren't that far away, but yeah.
I think we should go to the body. Let's go figure that out.
Well, let's go. Yeah, let's go find it because we may have to have the information when we go see Victoria.
I'm sure she'll understand our delay was when it was for such an important reason.
It said earliest convenience, and it is not convenient.
There you go. She's not expecting us at any certain time, so I agree.
Okay.
Jean-Luc.
You guys put your breakfast down, half eaten. Lorelai, Lexi gives you a cup to take with you.
Thank you.
Continue your caffeination.
I love how Lorelai's just immediately trained the townspeople to enable her addiction. It's really a character.
Perfect.
Sheriff Jenkins leads you down to the sea cliffs. There are these fairly sheer cliffs with a bit of a rocky beach leading down to the water. Looking up, you see just the Arclight House at the top of the cliffs there. There's a small group of people kind of, standing around. Councilman Bailey, who's the fellow who originally kind of suggested that you all take care of this situation, is there kind of keeping people away. Jenkins walks you up, and sure enough, Albin's laid out there. It looks like his body's suffered significant trauma. It seems most likely that he fell from the top of the cliffs, which is about 100 feet above you at this point.
Do we know, was Albin the lighthouse keeper? And do we know that?
You haven't asked, but I think no, you don't know where he lives.
Okay.
Yeah, you have not established much about Elman. So you guys see him there. Councilman Bailey walks up to you, kind of shaking his head sadly. Bad business, bad business. What do you make of it?
We should examine the body, shouldn't we?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Councilman Bailey.
That's the councilman.
Nice pipe.
Yeah, okay, you guys go and check out the body. Probably Claire is going to lead that. So Claire, go ahead and roll your medicine. Roll with advantage because you got the whole team helping you here. So roll it twice and take the higher result.
16.
16 medicine. Okay, so yeah, it looks like he died of blunt trauma. He's got a fractured tibia, fractured right tibia, right fibula, right femur. So it looks like he probably hit with his right leg impact. It looks like his hip is shattered, his right hip is shattered. It looks like he suffered major internal injuries and his head and had significant head trauma. So it looks like injuries consistent with a fall from a great height. He looks like he died instantly.
When I finish taking my notes, I want to do an investigation check.
Okay.
So just investigation of kind of the general area. I guess looking, well, some of it might have to wait until we actually get up to where he would have fallen from. But yeah, just looking for anything that might be going on there.
Okay.
Or was he pushed?
23.
23. Okay. Jane gets out like a little magnifying glass and goes around looking at all the like grains of sand and checking out the cliff face and whatnot.
It's a very fancy silver plated.
Yeah, so you discover a few things. You notice that in the sea cliffs here are a wide variety of small fossils embedded into the cliffs. You also spot a variety of footprints in addition to the ones that you've made and the ones that you believe Sheriff Collins and Councilman Bailey have made. There's a smaller set of prints as well that come up to the body. You gather by the level of the tide that the tide was probably out when he fell and it's just coming in now. So if nobody had found him, eventually the tide would have come up and dragged him out to sea. Yeah.
Okay. Sheriff Jenkins, has anyone been allowed at this scene before we arrived?
No one's been at the scene, but little Jaden here is the one who found him. He points to a little 9-year-old boy who's kind of huddled in the group.
Jane, do you think we should check and see if Jaden's footprints are the same shape and size as or if his shoes are the same shape and size as the footprints we found?
A capital idea, Captain Picard. And Jane is going to kind of take Lorelai's elbow and suggest that she come over since she's so good with children. And we're going to deal with Jaden. Make sure that he's okay and also use this opportunity to get some more information.
Okay. Jaden looks up at you with these really big, huge eyes like, whoa, strangers, these people are important and I'm just a poor little town boy.
Jane immediately drops down onto her knees so that she's looking at him more directly.
How can I help you, Governor?
Jaden, can you tell us what happened when you found poor Alban?
Oh, it's quite the fright, Missy. I was out for my morning fossil hike and I was cruising around the cliffs and I just spotted the poor boy. And I came running for the councilman. And then he fetched the sheriff.
That was quite a brave and wise thing to do, Jaden.
Oh, thanks, miss.
while I'm saying this, I'm going to kind of look down at his shoes and try to compare them to the size of the prints that I saw.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Okay.
And I'm going to distract him by asking him some more questions.
Okay.
Like how long ago was that?
I was at first light, miss, when the dawn was coming. I almost stumbled over him, to be honest. It was quite the fright.
I'll bet. Well, don't you worry. We're gonna find out what happened here, and we're very impressed with your report.
Yes, Mom. Thank you. Got these wide eyes, like, oh, I did good.
And if we have to wait until we get back to town for me to find this out, that's fine. Do I have any sense as to Jaden, like how Jaden finding the body at first light relates to the tide, the information that I know about the tides and what's going on with those?
Yeah. So you don't know when people would be down here, like later at night, but you suspect that the body probably fell shortly out between midnight and 2 or 3.
Okay. And the tide would have been, do I know that the tide would have been
out? Yep.
Okay, so it would have fallen between midnight and first light.
Right.
Okay? So like a 6-hour window.
Yeah.
Lorelai keeps looking up at the cliffs because she's wondering what he was doing up there.
I think we should ask the sheriff some more questions about what he knows about this person.
That's true, Claire, because we don't speak very much to Alban when he was when we first met him, and the sheriff simply said that he had assigned Alban to watch the house while he fetched us, but we don't know much more about Alban unless somebody else remembers.
Yeah, I'd like to know, what does Alban do with his day on a typical day? Where
does he live? What would he want to do on a cliff in the middle of the night?
Why does the sheriff employ him on a whim?
Yeah.
Well, Alban then he scavenges all sorts of like little trinkets and pretties and sells them to passing boats and visitors and such like who find trifles interesting. He kind of wanders all over the place looking for just cast off, mostly cast off junk, but every now and then he finds something kind of valuable. And that's how he makes his go. He's got a tiny little shack at the edge of the town, and Miss Lindsay, the school teacher, kind of minds him. They're not relations or anything, but she just kind of keeps a lookout for him. His parents have been dead for years. He really doesn't have any family. People give him a half loaf of bread or an apple or two every now and then. He was walking by when all that business with poor Charlie happened, and so I just dragooned him into helping, and he's always happy to help. He's more than happy to just stand and stare at nothing for as long as he like. So I thought he was good for that task. Yeah, poor Alban. Everybody in town liked him.
Well, shall we look at the top of the cliff, Lorelai?
Yeah,
to be interested.
That's what I'd like to do. Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing what's up there.
Who keeps the lighthouse up at the top of the cliffs?
Oh, that'd be Monty Anderson up there. He'd probably be sleeping now, but you can always bang loud enough to wake him if you need.
Oh yeah, I love banging on doors and waking.
Especially when you're investigating.
Yeah, Jane's going to let Claire be all over that, and it's going to be somewhere else.
So, just to be clear, there's a lighthouse at the top of the cliff. Is that what we're? Okay.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, relatively close to, like, if you look straight up, the lighthouse is over maybe 50, 100 feet. So it's not directly over where you are now, but it's pretty close.
Okay.
So
anything else you want to ask Sheriff Jenkins before heading up to the top of the cliffs?
So
Okay. All right, you guys leave. Jenkins nods to a couple of the townsfolk to come over and grab Albin's body and take it to take care of it.
Before that happens, can I also do a quick medicine check?
You were helping Claire.
I was helping Claire,
Yeah.
so anything I would have found, she found.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
exactly.
Good.
You guys head to the top of the cliffs. So it looks like there's a trail along the edge of the cliffs. It's usually about sort of 5 feet away from the edge. So, it's not like it's right at the edge, but it looks like people walk up to the lighthouse and just walk along the cliff's edge here, not infrequently. And as you walk up the cliffs, it is breathtakingly wonderful. You feel the sea air coming right off the ocean, little sprays of mist every now and then, just really clean and fresh and delightful. Very invigorating walk up the cliffs. The lighthouse rises in front of you. It's a pretty typical kind of seaside idyllic lighthouse, door in the base at the end of this trail, and a bright light at top, which even though it's light out now and there's very few clouds in the sky, you can see there's a little bit of beaming brightness at the top of the lighthouse. You guys get to more or less where you imagine if Albin had fallen, if it was linear and he fell straight down, where it would be. Mm-hmm. Looking around, we'll let Jane's investigation roll ride here. Looking around, you don't see any footprints since dew set in anyways, but the grass is trampled a little bit. Probably within the last 12 hours, you would guess. The grass would spring back if it was longer ago than that. It doesn't look like there was a major scuffle or anything. Like, you don't see where, if someone were fighting, you would expect they would like dig in with their shoe toes to kind of pivot off of, and that there would be more like kind of churned up mud, that sort of thing. It's really just like some tamped down grass, as if someone was maybe just kind of walking around here or looking. You do see 2 distinct footprints. You see what you presume to be Albin's. You notice that he had fairly large shoes. And then just kind of a normal size of boot.
Normal for a man or normal for
Normal for a man, yeah, normal man's boot.
And so since the investigation check rode, we don't need to do any more investigating, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are up here kind of cruising around, looking at the trail, looking at the grass all together. The trail is, the trail kind of, like I said, is usually about 5 feet within the cliff and kind of goes back and forth. Right at this point, it's much closer to the edge of the cliff. It's only about 2 feet away from the cliff. So if someone were standing on the trail here, it wouldn't take much for them to take a step or 2 off and take a tumble.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not likely to fall if they're on the trail, but it's
Correct.
Easy to get to a place where they could fall.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The trail is pretty darn safe the whole way, even with the strong sea wind blowing you. You think, even if you got, within a couple of feet of the cliffs, you don't think you would accidentally spill off.
Well, folks, then, one thing's for sure. Either Albin was pushed by someone else or someone knew that Albin fell off and didn't tell anyone. So,
excellent summation.
In summation, we need to. This was not an accident without some sort of responsibility. Somebody is culpable for something, unless it isn't. Even if those footprints came after he had already fallen, surely somebody would have seen a body at the bottom, and only Jaden was the one who reported it. So I recommend that Claire gets to banging on the lighthouse door.
Okay. On over. Bang, bang, bang.
Okay. All right. You all go up to the Arc Lighthouse, and you're banging away there for a good solid 5 minutes, and finally you hear grumble, 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 grumble. And you see elderly man, dark skin, this gray curling hair. His expression when he opens it is not very pleasant. He opens the door and he kind of scowls down at you. What are you banging on my door for?
Oh, so sorry to barge in and wake you up, sir, but
I was just getting to sleep. You know how hard it is for a man of my age to get a good night's sleep. I've been taking care of the lighthouse all night, and you come banging on my door.
At this point, Jane does actually come up, say, oh yes, we are very aware of how difficult that is. We thought that you might want to know that someone's body was found at the base of the cliff, and it's entirely possible that he may or may not, we're not sure, but he may have been killed while you were still attending to your duties.
Well, that's odd. I did see a couple of fellas on the top of the cliffs last night as I was making my rounds. Seems like they were having a bit of an argument. Around midnight, I see this was.
Do you remember anything about them, what they looked like?
Well, the moon wasn't out much, and I was attending my duties, Missy, so I can't say as much. One of them was a big guy. The other one was kind of a normal-sized fella. I think they finished their argument. The normal-sized fella, I saw him head back down towards the wharf.
Question. I know he was a normal-sized fellow, and it was a little hard to see, but did you happen to see whether he had a hunched back at all?
Oh, yeah, he seemed to carry himself like he is accustomed to lifting heavy stuff. Who was the fellow who died?
It was Alban. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, no. Oh, that poor boy. He was such a sweet fella. He'd always come around and have a tea with me every now and then. Come in, come in. He opens the door and gestures you to come into the lighthouse. You guys walk in to the first level of the Arc Lighthouse. This first level is actually quite a large room. It's maybe a 40-foot high ceiling. In the middle of the floor is a metal cage that's maybe 5 feet in diameter and about 10 feet high. And within this metal cage is an encased lightning bolt that's just sitting there crackling. And every now and then it sends a jolt of energy up through a hole in the ceiling, presumably to the reflector of the arc lighthouse to power it.
Wow, this is very impressive.
Thus the Arc Lighthouse.
Yes. Monty takes you upstairs into his sitting area, pours you some tea, yawns. Well, poor Alvin. That poor boy. Well, I don't know about the argument I saw. I didn't see nobody fall, but I saw that stupid fellow kind of head off towards the wharf. I don't hear what they were arguing about either. You can tell the lightning makes it hard for me to hear much.
I can imagine. Fascinating.
What else did you know about him? I mean, it doesn't sound like he would have anybody who would be an enemy or wouldn't be happy, to be with him and hang out.
Yeah, Miss Lindsay always took good care of him, and whenever he came around, I would give him a tea and a crumpet and have a chat and find out what new pretties he'd found. He was excited about something he'd found lately, but he wouldn't tell me what. He would only tell his Miss Lindsay, I think.
And we don't know Miss Lindsay.
We do not.
I think
She takes care of him. She's the old librarian.
someone talked to her. Isn't she the school teacher?
She is a school teacher. Yeah. I think you guys did that first day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our talked to him.
The little boy. We went to
briefly,
talk to
yeah,
his
yeah,
son. Yeah.
exactly, to talk to Victoria's son, Ernie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you guys say we go and talk to Victoria?
Do we want
Her
to
name,
talk
Victoria?
for Miss Lindsay and I don't know if we need to look at Albin's house, but my thinking there is if these two, we now know these two, this is most likely a murder, and this incident and the first incident are connected because we have a description of a man with a hunched back here, and thanks to the Witch of the Woods and the One-Eared Tribe, we know that there's a connection with the monk's bane and a man with a hunchback for the first incident. If Charlie's house was ransacked, perhaps Albin's house was also ransacked. Might be worth a quick look, and I think we'd want to talk to Miss Lindsay to find out more about Albin and what he was excited about. I would also pose to all of us now that we know these likely murders are connected, and that there is likely at least one murderer, and that this is a small town, we should all strive to be much more careful as we go about town, since it is likely known that we are the ones investigating this, and he's probably aware that we are coming after him.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Especially if we start getting close.
Yes.
So Jane is going to, first of all, make sure that we stay for the absolute minimum amount of time socially required for waking up someone who had just gotten to sleep. But then the second we fulfill that requirement, say, we'll let you get back to your rest and head out. And then I can play this out if you'd like, but I'm going to suggest that essentially we make our way from here to Victoria Hall's place, and that we do investigate Albin's shack and talk to Miss Lindsay. And we do that basically in geographic order, like whichever one we encounter, like we stop at each of those. So that's how we decide what order to go in.
Yeah.
Works.
Yeah,
That's
so
a good plan.
geographically, it's going to be the schoolhouse, then the candlery, and then Albin's shack is at the far side of town.
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell the lighthouse keeper things to put in his tea so we'll sleep better and scurry out the door with everyone.
That was very nice.
Yeah, great. He thanks you mightily. You tell him where to find some of that in the forest, or come to you.
Whatever's easy.
And I mumble to my companions, maybe he would sleep better if he didn't live in a house with a lightning bolt in it.
It is very disruptive. Every minute or so, the bolt jolts up, and you guys are in the sitting room, so it actually jolts past you to the top of the lighthouse, and it makes this crackling sound as it goes.
Yeah, he might want to get one of those masks that you wear when you sleep at night, and big earmuffs.
Jane makes plans to knit him something to that effect.
Oh.
Fantastic. Okay, you guys take your leave of Monty, head out of the Arc Lighthouse, and head back into town. Kind of glancing down the cliffs, you notice that the crowd that was there, it looks like it's broken up. You are the only ones out here now. Again, that beautiful sea breeze coming off. You hear some gulls crying. You see the ships in the wharf kind of putting out for the day to go on their fishing expeditions. You have a really nice view of the town from up here as well. See it all kind of nice and laid out. You see all the major landmarks. where you're staying, the daisy chain, and then you also see the schoolhouse, which is more or less in the middle of town, and you head your way in that direction. You get to the schoolhouse just as they're having a little bit of a recess time. Miss Lindsay is out there. You guys spot Ernie. Victoria's son as well is kind of playing with some of the other kids. You guys head up to Miss Lindsay, and it's very evident that she's been crying. She's got red eyes. Every now and then she kind of wipes them away. She's like trying to do her responsibilities and keep an eye on the kids, but you can tell she's just super distracted.
I suggest I go up to Miss Lindsay and I say, would you like Lorelai to watch the children for a bit so that you can sit down and have a cup of tea with us?
Okay. Oh, yes, miss, thank you.
So make sure Lorelai's okay with that. And we'll probably try to sit close that Lorelai can participate in the conversation while still keeping an eye and responding to anything that's happening with the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to play a game of toss with them.
Great. Yeah, you guys have a sit down there. Jane goes in the schoolhouse, makes some tea up, comes out and gives it to Miss Lindsay. She kind of cups it and just kind of drinks it forlornly, and she shakes her head and she says, why would anybody want to hurt poor sweet Alban? He never hurt a fly. He was such a good little fella.
From all we've heard, that's absolutely true. We haven't heard of anyone who would want to harm him. Had he told you anything lately that might have caused someone's better nature to be overcome? Something he had found, perhaps?
He kind of looks off in the distance and kind of goes on. She says, he know the cliffs so well. He was always up there. He would never have just fallen off. He sometimes took to wandering at night. Sometimes he'd find different little treasures at night than he would during the day. He'd go up to the cliffs at night, and sometimes he'd go and help Monty with his duties at the lighthouse. And he was just such a good guy.
So Picard would note that she seems to be so distraught that she's not picking up on Jane's leading, and opts to politely ask directly whether, in a more direct fashion, Jane's insinuation about about something that he had been hiding. So crafted in a more eloquent way per Jean-Luc Picard.
Okay, roll your persuasion to reflect Jean-Luc's your elegance.
Here.
That's 5, so.
Whoa. Oh.
22.
22, okay. Jean-Luc kind of breaks through Miss Lindsay's grief, and also like she's a little bit resistant to share what she is telling you. And she says, well, Albin asked me not to tell anyone, but I suppose it doesn't matter now. He found a green stone. He showed it to me a couple of days ago. He said he found it during his wanderings up in the Gray Peaks. He was very excited about it. I don't know if he was ever going to sell it anyway. I thought he was just maybe going to keep it as a personal treasure. But he might have shown it to some others to see if they would buy it. I'm not sure, but I know that he was very excited about that the past couple of days, and he had a hard time kind of keeping it bottled in.
I'm sure he would have wanted you to tell about anything that might help Miss Lindsay. I'm sure he would feel that you've done the right thing.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like we should call these stones the green monsters.
Little green monsters. What if? Well, we're still talking. After we leave, Jean-Luc has has a point to make, something to posit to the group after we're done. And I have no questions for.
Did he have any friends that he would hang out with? Do you know who would else have known about the stones or the stone?
He didn't really. I mean, everyone was his friend, and I looked after him, and he would do whatever anyone asked of him. I don't know. He spent a lot of time on the wharf talking to out of town visitors to sell his trinkets. I can't imagine he told anyone, but maybe he had his case of treasures that he carried around with him all the time. If he kept it in there, someone might have spotted it, I suppose.
Do you know where he kept that? Always with him?
His case, it was always on him, yeah.
Mm. That probably means whoever.
You guys did not spot a case when you found his body.
Yeah.
The house might be worthless.
I mean, we could try. You never know if it was, if he had a super special hiding place. But yeah, whoever pushed him definitely got something.
It may still be worth. We may still find something else of
Yeah.
worth by visiting his house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Jean-Luc is getting uncomfortable around so many children, and is antsy to go. But we'll step out while anybody else has further questions.
Okay, and then Jean-Luc, you had a discussion for the group.
I did, and just beginning to speculate here, but what if we know that there are more people like us, because we've heard the Witch of the Woods mention it. People sometimes show up here in Hommlet and, causationally or correlationally, these green gems show up, and green gems, they're certainly going to be valuable for any number of reasons. But what if it's more valuable than just a trinket that can be sold? What if these gems are the key to someone like us getting home, or someone not like us trying to go somewhere else?
I think perhaps someone's been looking for these gems either to return home like we all want to do, or to travel elsewhere in some other way.
Exactly.
Mm.
So at this point, Claire's stomach is dropping out beneath her because this is an Outlander thing, but she travels through time with stones. And when she touches a special stone that can do this, she can hear it buzzing and she can feel it burning in her hands. And she can, at this point, I think the memory of all that would totally make her sick and possibly faint.
You guys all see this in Claire, that she is struck to the core by what Jean-Luc is saying.
We gotta find it.
That we've wrapped up our.
Yeah, you guys are walking to Victoria the Candlery.
Put a hand under Claire's elbow and say, "Do you need a minute, dear?"
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. We just need to keep going, I think.
Whatever you'd like.
Tally ho.
Okay. So you guys make it to the Candlery. You head in. You see Victoria.
Yep.
She smiles at you, Lorelei, and says, "Oh, Lorelei. Oh, I'm so glad. Did you get my message?"
Hi. Yes, I did. We were gone for a couple of days, and we have a lot to tell you. We don't know if you have heard that another townsfolk his body has been found.
Oh yes, poor Albin. That I heard just a little bit ago. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm obviously I'm sad that Charlie died, although we weren't very close, and to see somebody else die so soon, It's quite alarming.
Well,
but I wanted to tell you, my house was broken into yesterday.
Any chance that you had anything special that someone was looking for?
I don't know as I did. Ernie and I went down to the wharf to shop right around midday, and when we got back, the candlery was broken into, and things, it looks like things had been kind of rifled through, but I don't know why. Maybe it has something to do with Charlie. Did something similar happen at his house?
We're not sure yet. As far as you can tell, was anything stolen, or does it seem that they were searching for something?
I honestly don't know. I didn't see anything missing. I can take you upstairs to have a look if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Is the whole group going to go troop up there?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Investigation. On that one.
More than one person can't do an investigation, or they can't?
No,
Yeah,
absolutely,
they absolutely
you
can and should.
Yeah. Just depends on how disruptive you all want to be tossing the place.
So that works out to 6.
Do another.
Yeah, it looks like she's put everything kind of to rights since then, since it was yesterday. Anybody else wanting to have a look around?
Oof.
I'll have a look around.
Lorelai, great. All right, roll your d20 and add your investigation.
7 plus 3, 10.
Okay. Yeah, Lorelai, looking around, it looks like mostly Victoria's kind of put things to right. You do notice that she has a writing desk, and looking over that, especially clued into you as you were to Charlie's place, you do notice that the top drawer looks like it has a place to be locked. You don't know if it was locked at the time, but it looks like someone jammed something in to pry it open.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Victoria, was there anything in this drawer?
Just my usual writing implements, and she goes over and opens it, and you see, some relatively poor quality paper, inkwell, a quill, kind of archaic from your standpoint. It's not a ballpoint pen, but it looks like you could write with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were looking for something, but they didn't know. They didn't know where it might be. Mm-hmm. But it was something that might fit in a drawer, small enough that it might fit in a drawer.
Gem size, maybe.
Perhaps, Jean-Luc.
I don't have any gems. I don't even have jewelry. Just a simple candle maker.
Well, it would be possible if someone knew that Charlie had that he might have given her one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's possible.
Remind us, dear, you had said something about what Charlie had been doing prior to his unfortunate death. Was there anything that, casting your mind back now, especially, that someone might have thought that you might have something to do with?
I mean, Charlie and I haven't really spoken for a good 5 years. And even he doesn't really see Ernie very much anymore. But I hope if somebody had some bad designs on Charlie that they wouldn't come after me, but maybe they have. I mean, to kill someone, obviously you'd have to be mad. Maybe this person's just mad and they're going after anything. I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Well, I wouldn't trouble yourself, dear. I understand this must have been very unsettling, but at this point they know that whatever they're seeking isn't here. So I think that you can rest safely at this point.
Oh, thank you.
Who's Ernie?
his her son.
Oh, Ernie's the little boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one other question from me, just not to do with this this break-in at all, Miss Hall. It is Miss Hall, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you ever met or seen anyone around town who has a hunched back or scars on their, what is it, face?
Hands.
Scars on their hands?
Quite a few of the longshoremen, because they do so much of the heavy lifting. They all of them sort of seem to walk with a bit of a stooped posture to my eyes. And I go down to the wharf, they buy candles as everybody. I tend to take my wares down there periodically, and I see them shuffling around under their heavy burdens.
We've solved the case. It's all the longshoremen.
Yup.
Well, I think we should probably leave this woman to relaxing.
To candle making.
I agree.
Please do let us know if either of you think of anything else that might be helpful, or if we can do anything at all to be of assistance to you. And maybe I kind of say in an aside, I really want her to believe that she's safe. I don't want her to be worried, but I'm also going to maybe ask Jean-Luc, can you think of anything we can do to fortify her home without alarming her?
I think all four of you, coming from a more modern era than this is set in, could certainly beef up the lock security and just do simple barrier sort of protections that she would interpret as magic, basically. But for you guys, it's just oh yeah, you've got a 1 tumbler lock. I'm sure we can come with a better device to keep you safe. So between the four of you, yeah, you guys could definitely spend an hour or so making the candling more secure, just with your modern knowledge.
And I think we pitch it to her that way, that
Mm-hmm.
we honestly don't think anybody's going to come back, but we can make this place more secure, and that
Just to make you feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I would love that. And Lorelai, you know how it is having a child. I worry more about Ernie than for myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whatever you can do would be much appreciated. And I'll keep an eye out, and I'll tell you anything I know.
Great.
You guys spend the next hour or so just doing simple things that improve the security of the candlery, so that it doesn't make it impossible for someone to get in, but they'd have to be much more determined. It seems, based on what you see, you think that whoever came in, you're not even sure if she locked the door when she went to go shopping.
Right.
And so then we leave. Yep.
Yeah. So then you guys head out.
And I think we're heading to Albin's shack next.
Well, one question for what's closer, Albin's shack or the wharf?
Oh, sure.
Let's see, where are you guys? It's kind of equidistant, actually.
So I'd like to talk to the group again, as is my MO. It seems that there are likely quite a few clues to be found at the wharf. I'll posit a few to you. First off, the one-eyed, one-eared tribe.
Purple people eater.
One-eyed, one-eared.
The one-eared.
The tribe.
One-eyed, one-eared.
The tribe was traded a net, which is not uncommon in Hommlet, but more likely to be found by someone living or working near the wharf. Also, when we spoke with Miss Lindsay, she not only mentioned that Albin had been down at the wharf, but when Victoria Hall's house was broken into, she was at the wharf, meaning someone may have seen them there and known that they were not at home, and there therefore could have their house broken into. And also at some point, it was mentioned that Alban shows his little trinkets and wares to out-of-town visitors at the wharf, which could link to our theory about people who are from places like us, you know, running into him there, or showing up first at the wharf, etc. So at some point, either before or after the shack, I think you should go to the wharf, look around, ask around a little bit.
What time of day is it?
Right now it's probably about 1, just after lunch.
Okay. Well, which do we feel is the more pressing matter? By this point,
Each one it's about a 5-minute walk. Like it'd be easy to do both in the afternoon.
So it's a coin flip. All right.
I'd say the wharf.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You guys head down to the wharf, which in the days before, you know, shortly after you arrived, Lorelei, you were kind of out on the town checking things out, as well as Jean-Luc. You went down to the wharf periodically. The ships, you know, kind of come in and out. Most of them are fishing ships. They kind of go out in the morning and then come back in the late afternoon. So in the middle of the day, there's not too many people around. You see a handful of people here and there. It doesn't look like there are any sort of trading ships or transport ships or that sort of thing. You do see an elderly fellow kind of leaning up against the railing, just with his fishing pole in the water right here at the edge of the wharf.
So Jean-Luc would go up to the elderly fellow and strike up a conversation asking him what he's fishing for, because he loves a good fish.
Oh, good sir. Right around here, you really don't get naught but catfish.
Ah. Well, are you here often? Do you come here every day?
Oh, yeah. All day, every day. David Cole's the name. He sticks his hand out.
David Cole. So, Mr. Cole, have you, first of all, I introduce all 4 of us and tell him why we're here.
Oh, yeah, you're the out-of-towners. I heard all about you.
And then I ask if he's, first off, seen anything unusual at the wharf lately, over the last few days.
Unusual at the wharf? How much time you got?
We've got about 7 hours of daylight.
It takes all day minus the time it would take to go to the shack.
Yeah, if you really want David Cole to spin all of his fishing tales, as it were, he will absolutely keep you occupied. Why don't you? So why don't we do this? We're going to do a slightly different mechanic. We're going to do what's called a skill check, which is you choose one of the skills that you have, usually one that you're good at, and then you tell me how you are using that skill as you're interacting with David to shift through the dross, basically, of what in the world he's saying. So I'll try to use one that you guys don't have. So maybe if you had performance, you might say, you know, oh, when he talks about that story, I kind of create a little bit of a song to celebrate that story, and that helps me see, like, is this really a true story or is this just a fanciful tale? And then roll the performance to see how well you do. And then we'll try not to overlap skills. So each of you will have to use a different skill. Okay, so Lorelei, do you want to start us off?
So it seems like my strongest skills are deception and persuasion.
Okay.
So How could I use that? We're trying to get the information out of him.
Right. Yeah. So you could use deception, maybe to be like, oh no, I'm actually not one of the out of towners. I just look like one of them, and I found these folks wandering the docks and thought I would help them out. Or it might be something like, oh, we're not actually investigating any murder. We just happened to be, at the right time in the right place, and we've actually been doing our own thing. Or if you wanted to use persuasion, you might be like, oh, now, Mr. Cole, is that really a true tale? Those kinds of things.
Okay. So I think that I don't think there's any reason to pretend that I'm not with them, but I think that I can use the persuasion to keep bringing him back to something that's not just a long story that we don't need. So I'm going to keep just easily slipping into the conversation. The things that have to do with the humpbacked and the guy with the scars, and the something about the green stones without, I'm just going to try to slip the conversation around to that so that he tells us more of what we want to know when we're not there all day.
Got it. Okay, yeah, go ahead and roll your persuasion.
So do that plus my 7.
Yep.
It's only 8.
Oh, no.
I guess I'm not very good at it.
At least not today with Mr. Cole. Okay, Claire, what skill are you going to use?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I should be better at this. My best skills are survival and medicine.
Uh-huh.
But maybe he needs to be treated for hyperactivity or something. Go ahead.
Hyperactivity?
I don't know. He keeps talking. He's rambling
that's
a lot.
exciting.
Or gouge.
Maybe he has ADD.
Give him a cure for his gouge or something, and be like, oh, come on.
Or ADD.
Yeah, I would definitely use my time. That's true. I would definitely use my time, fixing his scurvy or something, giving him ideas to help with scurvy, with trying to sift through specific things that I wanted.
Okay, great. Go ahead and roll your medicine check.
16 total.
16. Okay, great. Yeah, you're able to do that pretty successfully. And also some of the tales that he tells you, you're like, wait a second, that person had a limp, but then they were running around the next day. Like that, you're using your medicine knowledge to kind of put 2 and 2 together that way. Okay, Jane.
Okay, so among my highest is history.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to first of all impress him with my understanding of the history of fishing and how important it is to a town like this, and also tell him about something a case that I came upon in England on a seaside town where there was a fisherman who, believe it or not, committed a murder, and how we were able to figure out which one of all the ones it was, and if he's ever seen someone stand out from the other fishermen like that.
Okay, great.
No. Okay. I can't use that one?
No. Talks.
Oh, boo. 8.
Okay, you and Lorelai are dragging the group down. Jean-Luc, it's up to you.
No. Damn.
I've got, so we've already used perception, not perception,
Persuasion.
My top are intimidation and deception. And Jean-Luc Picard is not afraid of intimidating someone, not someone as innocent as this fellow. And he hates to deceive someone, but he knows we need answers. So it's going to be deception. And so he tells him that he's a fisherman too, and has been his whole life, and understands what it's like to be around so many people, but not have them listen to you. And so I use that to try to get him to narrow it down, buddy, David.
Okay, great.
All right, here we go. Here we go. You ready?
Got this.
You ready?
Yes.
That's a 14.
Total.
Okay, that's good enough. Between you and Claire, you guys are able to kind of shift through most of the dross. Now, you don't get all of the amazing information David has, but what you are able to shift through is that the most remarkable things that pertain to your case are the wharf is usually quiet at night because no one goes out to sea at night. Albans sometimes can be seen wandering at night, as can one of the longshoremen, Noah Gill. Noah is often at the pub, the Yule's pub, and once it closes, he often is out rambling. And he's kind of known as someone that like cruises around in the wee hours of the night. He doesn't have much going for him. He doesn't have a family. It seems like he's always down on his luck. No luck with the ladies. He's kind of just grumbly and mean spirited.
What did you say the name of the pub was?
The name of the pub is the Yule's.
Yule's.
Yeah. So yeah, people are not often out at night, but Noah is one of the few people that does wander around, and often even without a lantern. Like he's just like too angry to go to sleep, basically.
Rising out of the depths.
So that's what you guys shift through. At least some of the information that David Bull has to share that is apparently useful / meaningful.
And so are we able to ask follow-up questions or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you can ask. So that was you just like spitballing. So now it's like 5 o'clock. Like you guys have spent 4 hours listening to all this crap from David and trying to find the nuggets. But you can ask specific questions to get at those nuggets better, more effectively, potentially.
Okay. So if I were to, okay, well, if I ask you this, then it's sort of like asking him. So I guess I'll just ask him, and you'll tell me if it works or not.
Correct.
All right. So I would ask. So Jean-Luc would ask David, if I described a man who was hunched over and had scars on his hands, does that ring any specific bells for you?
Well, most of the longshoremen meet that description. Certainly Noah does, Ethan, Aiden, the professional haulers all are a bit that. I'm a bit stooped myself, but he holds up his hands. He's like, I'm, mostly a fisherman, so I don't have the kind of hard duties as those fellows do.
Are most of the long fishermen local from here, like originally, or do they come from other
countries? Yeah, no, we've all been here our whole lives, as far as I know.
What about Noah? Has he been here his whole life?
Yeah, born and raised. His parents died when he was young and didn't leave him nothing. Yeah, the only work he could get was working to haul the crates off the ships, haul the fishes off.
Whenever we wrap up here, maybe we could. I'll just also ask: can you point Noah out to us now?
Oh yeah, except I think I heard him say he was gonna hire Connor to go up into the mountains today. So I hadn't seen him all day, though he often sleeps till noon. Yeah, I believe he was going to go off into the mountains as he sometimes does on his days off.
Connor seems to be a very busy man.
I totally forgot about Connor.
That's okay. Susan takes really good notes.
Oh yeah, Susan.
Okay, well.
I think I'm satisfied.
Oh, I'm not, but
Well,
Maybe we can get some more clues at what's his name's house?
at the house.
Alvin?
Alban.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe we can get some more clues at his house. Maybe we should start heading over there.
yeah, it's getting dark.
Works for me.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Cole.
Oh, thanks for listening to all my stories.
Yes, they were fascinating.
Mhm.
I didn't like to say so.
Okay, you guys head across town to Alvin's shack. It is, in fact, towards the edge of town. It's so if to the north is the lighthouse, to the west of the forest, and to the south of the mountains. His is kind of on the southwest corner, so more in the direction of the Gray Hills, the Gray Peaks. It's a pretty small, kind of slapshod structure. Doesn't look like it had a proper foundation or frame or anything like that. It's probably like a 10 by 14 structure. You notice a lot of driftwood has been attached to it. There's like there's a chimney that actually looks like relatively well done that maybe some kindly townsperson built for him. But otherwise, it looks just like whatever he scavenged, he just like attached it to the walls and the roof until it was waterproof. It has a door. The door is slightly ajar. It looks like there's no way to like latch it.
Mhm.
All right, go in and investigate.
Okay.
Me too.
Going in, it's quite dark. There are no windows. There's a little bit of light kind of coming through some of the cracks in the wall. A little bit of light coming down the chimney and certainly through the open door that you've come through. So it's fairly dim. There's a little cot in a corner. There's some pots and pans and cutlery kind of near the fireplace where he would obviously cook things. The floor is fairly dirty but covered in straw. So it's pretty simple digs. There's not a lot going on in here. So because there's not very much going on, I don't even need an investigation roll. There's no case in here. There's no footprints in here besides his, and the straw doesn't really hold footprints anyways. The hearth is cold, so it hasn't been used for a good 12 to 16 hours. It looks like he probably had a meal in here a day or so ago. The cot, he's got a basic cot with some blankets. Obviously, he didn't sleep in it last night. Yeah, is there anything specific you guys want to know?
If anything looks like it's out of place or ransacked.
It doesn't look like anyone's gone through anything. No, it would be a little difficult to tell, to be honest, because again, there's nothing like just walking in the door. You peg every individual article that's visible in this room without any difficulty. So it'd be really a little difficult to tell if anyone took anything, but nothing looks like, oh, the straw was depressed here from something heavy being on it and now that's gone or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is not getting us anywhere fast.
No, unfortunately, it seems that whatever the murderer, if the murderer took something, it was probably on his person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And someone was suspicious enough to look through Victoria Hall's place.
Yeah.
Yep.
But is that the only reason why they would go through her? She hadn't talked to Charlie in 5 years.
It was odd. But
Especially odd in such a small town where it seems that everyone knows.
Right.
But perhaps whoever did it didn't realize the degree of separation between the two.
So they wouldn't necessarily have been from here. But he said all the long fishermen were.
I suggest that we have our dinner tonight at the Yule's Pub and continue our discussion there and potentially see if we can keep an eye out for Noah Gill. So when we get to the pub, we say, you know, is Noah
Oh, you're
here?
gonna go to the pub? To the Yule's?
Yeah, we're gonna go to the pub.
Yeah, you head to the pub. It's pretty much right at dinner time. It's reasonably crowded. It's a simple one-story building. It's got a couple of nice windows, got some candles, some lanterns, keeping it warm. There's a couple of serving women scurrying about, serving people. Pretty basic stuff, you know, potatoes, gravy, roast, and you make some inquiries. Nobody's seen Noah today. He's not in, which is a little bit unusual. Every now and then he'll miss a day here or there. So it's not unheard of that he's not around tonight, but nobody's seen him. And usually he'll show up kind of mid to late afternoon. They did see him last night. He was there until closing at midnight, as he usually is.
Jean-Luc asks Jane, who takes studious notes, or maybe I just do this. I don't know. When we were speaking to the tribe, in what context did the gems come up? Because what I recall is that the man purchased Monk's Bane with a net. At what point did the gems come up? Did he have gems and they saw them? Was he paying them with gems? Did they give him gems? What do you recall?
I don't recall specifically. It may have been simply that we had heard about green gems. Oh, no, actually, now that I think about it, I believe that the person who purchased the Monk's Bane did ask about
Asked about them.
at the same time.
Asked about them, but did not have them. Understood. Okay, good. Well, that's in line with the theory.
I'm going to ask the barman about Connor. And
right. It's like we forgot it. Yeah.
Connor
or
Burns.
Anybody around and just sort of that.
Yeah. He's a well-known ranger. He leads people into the forest. He protects the foresters, the lumberjacks who go deep into the forest to harvest the weir trees. He's mostly a ranger, guide, escort. Will happily work for pay to take care of people. His wife died in a monster attack about 5 years ago. He's a single father. He has a son, Jack Burns, who's about 11. Often leads people into the Deepening Wood or into the Great Peaks.
We met Jack.
Yeah.
You met Jack?
Yeah, we went
you visited his house. That's right. Yeah. He was a little reluctant to talk to you, but you encouraged him to step out. Yep.
When did Connor Burns arrive in town?
He's also a native.
Okay.
Lived here his whole life.
As I said,
his wife was a walk-in like you all.
Ooh.
Oh, and died in a monster attack.
Yep.
Anybody remember? Do you remember what monster
Arrived?
She arrived about 7 years ago. Wait a second. Hang on. That timeline doesn't work out. Hang on.
No, she died in the monster attack fight.
No. But she arrived 12 years ago.
Ah, gotcha.
And Do you remember what monster? Just out of curiosity.
A horrible one.
Had one.
The townsfolk are pretty darn yokelish as it comes to the horrors of the forest. All they know is forest bad.
Good.
Anything between a goblin and a dragon would be labeled monster.
Well, Jean-Luc would suggest after Jane speaks to the bartender, that's the word, right? Yeah. That we consider what we do tomorrow, assuming no one else dies. We've got to speak to Connor. I mean, it's just crucial at this point, and he's hard to find. So maybe we think about going back to his house or venturing into the woods. And if we do, maybe we'll catch Noah as well. I'm thinking.
Yes, I agree. If we're going to, it is important to speak to Connor, either here if he's returned by tomorrow morning, or perhaps we could go try to find him, although we don't really know much about where he would have gone, and maybe
do we know where he lives?
Mm-hmm.
Because
we went there once.
Maybe we could go put a note on his door like Victoria Hall did to us.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
And say, can you please come and see us at your earliest convenience?
And what was it that Jack told us that I know he said he wasn't supposed to come out of the house. Do we think we could convince a small boy to let us just stay in his house until, I'm not advocating this, I'm just throwing it out to the group. Just stay in his house until his dad comes home.
Depends on.
Would Dad really have a good feeling about it?
It might not endear us to.
We could camp outside the house and wait.
Yeah.
If we wanted, but I like the note idea, so we could just go and do some other stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Try to track down Noah, or there's still an outstanding quest here. Ernie Hall can show us where he and his dad used to go.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so maybe check the house first thing in the morning, leave a note if Connor's not back, and then see if Victoria's willing to let Ernie show us where he went with his father if Connor's not back.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really rather wait since he hadn't seen his son in 5 years, I wonder if that's even good enough.
Is it 5? I thought he hadn't seen his wife in 5 years. Was it his son?
I thought he saw his son somewhat regularly.
Okay.
Less than I'm sure Victoria would have liked, but.
So are you guys going to leave the note with
in the morning
with Jack to leave for Connor, or okay? So you're not going to leave him the note tonight.
I think we were all. Well, isn't it? What time is it?
It's like 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It's after dinner.
I mean, we might as well make sure he hasn't returned yet, and then leave the note. But then still, I think check again in the morning before going to find Ernie if Connor hasn't.
We're going to swing by his house tonight really quick, and then he's there.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Well, let's do it.
Okay, you guys head by the Burns house. Connor is not there. Jack, remembering you from the other day, says that he's out on an expedition. He doesn't know when he'll be back, but he takes the note to give it to him. You guys head home to the daisy chain, and Lexi sees that you already had dinner, gives you a nice little, oh my gosh, I forgot the hot whiskey drink.
Toddy?
She makes you a nice hot toddy to settle in the evening with, and you all drift off to a somewhat uneasy sleep. You keep thinking about Alban being up there on the cliffs all alone in the night, and being pushed to his death, and the sadness that brought to everybody in town. You wake up in the morning, have your normal morning routine. Sheriff Jenkins does not interrupt it with another death notice. So we'll count that as a win. You get sufficiently caffeinated. She gives you another to-go mug, Lorelai, in addition to your normal dose to walk around town. You guys head over to the Burns house. Jack tells you that his father is still not returned. And you round up Ernie. Victoria is more than willing to have you have him escort you into the foothills of the Gray Peaks, where Charlie would go with him, wandering to find his fortune every now and then. And Ernie remembers all of his father's, favorite digging spots and prospecting spaces. So Ernie bravely leads you off into the Gray Peaks. Is there anything you guys want to do before you leave town?
What is Ernie's fighting skill? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
9-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Just,
He does have a sling, actually, for scaring off dangerous creatures.
Oh, good.
so I say to Lorelai, you deal with this one.
All right, I'll try to keep an eye on him.
Excellent. Okay, great. We will pick up the game next time as you all venture into the Gray Peaks together.
Hey.
Hey.
Great Peaks are different than the woods.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, the Deepening Wood is different than the Gray Peaks. The Gray Peaks are this kind of rocky, badland sort of thing that go up into this very tall spire, which is called the Gray Peak.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fun.
Maybe we need dig.
I think we learned a lot. Oh, I hope we have a pickaxe. Do we?